April 20th, 1945. Führer Bunker, Berlin, 3 levels below the shattered Reich Chancellery. The stairwell smells of wet concrete and stale tobacco. Muffled explosions roll through the city above like distant thunder. Traudl Junge stands in a narrow corridor, skirt pinned, hair pinned back, a fountain pen trembling between her fingers. Outside the reinforced walls, the Soviets are biting into the suburbs. Inside, voices are clipped, radios crackle with fragmented orders. She can hear the clink of a field telephone, the heavy tread of a Wehrmacht major in boots, the metallic rattle of map cases. In the dim lamplight, Hitler sits at a small desk, his uniform buttoned, shoulder boards flattened, a cigarette stub pressed into an ashtray that never seems to fill. Around him are aides, a general with medals dulled by soot, a courier with a pistol at his hip. Traudl watches him not as a myth, but as a gaunt man counting breaths. The bunker feels smaller with everyone. The distant shelling grows sharper now, no longer thunder, but hammer blows. Each impact sends a fine dust trembling from the ceiling. In the map room, Hitler leans over a chart of Berlin marked with red pencil. His trembling hand follows the Soviet advance from the east, his jaw tight, lips pressed thin. They're only 12 kilometers away, one of the officers mutters. Traudl sits by her typewriter, the rhythmic clack of keys echoing down the hallway. She's typing his final birthday messages, orders that no one will follow, words meant for divisions that no longer exist. A radio blares in the background, announcing that the Führer remains in control. It's a lie everyone silently agrees to maintain. The atmosphere has turned heavy with denial. The Goebbels children play quietly in another room, their mother's lullaby mixing with the rattle of anti-aircraft guns outside. The corridors smell of oil, sweat, and fear. When Traudl looks up, she catches Hitler's pale eyes fixed on the map, not in strategy, but in disbelief. The empire he built is collapsing around him, and he knows it. April 25th, 1945. The city above is burning. Berlin is now a furnace of smoke, rubble, and screaming air raid sirens. In the Führer bunker, the atmosphere has shifted from tension to resignation. The sound of gunfire echoes faintly through the ventilation shafts. The Soviets have crossed the Spree River. Hitler's staff gathers around the long table. Maps are strewn everywhere, corners curling under the heat of nearby lamps. Hitler stands hunched, his once commanding voice now brittle. "There will be no surrender," he says hoarsely. "Anyone attempting to negotiate will be shot." His words hang in the stagnant air, but even his generals no longer look at him. Traudl keeps typing, proclamations, decrees, and final orders for phantom units. Her fingers ache, but she dares not stop. She glances at Eva Braun, who sits elegantly beside the Führer, wearing a faint smile that doesn't reach her eyes. Outside, artillery shakes the bunker again. Plaster falls onto her papers. Someone mutters, "It's only a matter of hours." As the meeting ends, Hitler moves slowly toward his private quarters, his shoulders stooped, one hand trembling behind his back. For the first time, Traudl realizes she is watching not a dictator, but a man waiting for the end. April 29th, 1945. The bunker is silent except for the hum of air filters and the occasional thud of distant artillery. The walls sweat from the heat of overworked generators. Traudl Junge has barely slept in days. Her eyes burn from fatigue, but she continues typing, this time a marriage certificate. Adolf Hitler is marrying Eva Braun in a dimly lit conference room beneath a flickering bulb, with Goebbels and Bormann as witnesses. Traudl's hands tremble as she signs her name as the witness. Eva smiles faintly, her dress simple but clean, her eyes glassy with something between devotion and despair. Afterward, champagne is poured into chipped glasses. Hitler raises his in a small, awkward toast. "To loyalty," he murmurs. No one replies. Later that night, Traudl types his last political testament. He dictates every line with rigid precision, blaming others, naming successors, demanding absolute loyalty to the bitter end. His voice breaks once, briefly, when he speaks of betrayal. She keeps typing, the sound of her machine a heartbeat in the tomb-like silence. When he finishes, he looks at her for a long moment. "You've been brave, Fräulein Junge," he says softly. "I wish Germany had more like you." Then he turns away, leaving her with a weight of words that already feel like ghosts. April 30th, 1945. The shelling has grown so close that dust falls like snow from the ceiling. The walls tremble with each Soviet barrage. In the corridor outside Hitler's study, Traudl Junge stands frozen, clutching a folder to her chest. Inside the small room, the Führer and Eva Braun have withdrawn behind a heavy steel door. It is 3:30 in the afternoon. Otto Gunsch, Hitler's adjutant, posts guards at both ends of the hallway. No one goes in, he orders quietly. The staff stands in silence, eyes fixed on the closed door. For a long moment, there's nothing but the muffled crackle of distant fire and the slow ticking of a clock. Then, a sharp sound, unmistakable and final. A gunshot. The smell of gunpowder seeps into the hall as Gunsch steps inside. Moments later, he emerges pale and expressionless. "It's over," he says simply. The Führer is dead. Two men enter with blankets. Traudl catches a glimpse of Eva Braun's legs. One shoe still on, the other missing. The bodies are carried up the narrow stairwell to the garden above. From the courtyard, flames flicker against the gray afternoon sky as gasoline is poured over the corpses. Traudl turns away. The sound of fire swallowing history fills the air. The Third Reich dying in smoke and silence. May 1st, 1945. The bunker feels hollow now, its corridors echoing with whispers and hurried footsteps. With Hitler gone, the illusion of order collapses. Goebbels and his wife retreat into their quarters. Their children sleep quietly, unaware of what the morning will bring. Traudl Junge sits beside her typewriter for the last time. The keys are silent. There are no more speeches to transcribe, no orders to type. Only the sound of soldiers burning documents in the next room. The paper curling into ash under dim electric light. The air smells of smoke and despair. That evening, word spreads that Goebbels and his wife have poisoned their children, then themselves. The bunker becomes a tomb of ghosts. Soviet artillery shakes the earth above. The walls groan like dying lungs. Traudl realizes staying means dying. Under the dim light of a flickering bulb, she and a small group of secretaries and officers make their plan. They will try to slip out through the ruins disguised as civilians. She wraps a gray scarf around her head, tucks away her papers, and takes one last look down the bunker corridor, the place where she saw the end of a world. As they climb the broken stairwell into the burning city, the first rays of dawn cut through the smoke. Berlin is unrecognizable, a wasteland of shattered stone and silence. Yet in that silence, Traudl feels something she hasn't in weeks, the faint, trembling pulse of survival. As the flames of Berlin faded into history, Traudl Junge carried memories that would haunt her for the rest of her life. Memories of witnessing the downfall of one of history's darkest figures from just a few feet away. Her story reminds us that even those closest to power can become silent witnesses to destruction. If you found this glimpse into the final days of the Third Reich powerful, don't forget to subscribe and join us next time as we uncover more untold stories from the past, here in America in Time.